So today we had the University of Michigan's inflation expectation report come out, and we saw that there was a slight dip in the inflation expectations, which is absolutely great. But we have to understand exactly how this report is done. See, this report is done by doing a survey across the nation with random Americans. Now we have to understand that many of Americans are not aware of what's going on in the overall economy, and this is fine. I'm not trying to subjugate the American people. In fact, if you go to any nation and you look at any population in the masses, the majority of people aren't going to be aware about the overall economy. I like to believe that the individuals that watch this channel are a little bit more educated or aware, or even if you don't watch this channel, if you click this video, obviously you have some interest in the equity markets or the economy, and so you may be more aware, but you have to understand that many Americans are not aware of what's actually taking place. Now, what's interesting here is that this graph shows you that when retail gasoline prices are at their all-time high, we see this divergence with consumer sentiment, and then vice versa, when gas is low, well, then we see consumer sentiment going upwards. And so the reason why I'm highlighting all of this is because the problem is we're seeing gasoline futures trickle back upwards. Now, we're not exactly close to the peak of 2022. However, we have to acknowledge that we are trending upward. In fact, if you look at the CPI report that just came out recently, we see that energy is tricking back up again. And so the concern is that energy is most likely going to increase further once we have the next CPI reading coming out next month. But to make matters worse, we also had the producer price index trickle up more than what was expected. Now, the reason why I say it's good to look at the producer price index is because it's often just a leading indicator of where inflation is heading. And so this kind of shows us that the battle is still not yet over. It's looking good, but it's not over. And so the reason I'm saying this is because I'm not saying that the Federal Reserve is not going to pause in this next meeting. The main concern is that they may delay when they actually start cutting rates in 2024. And so that's a huge concern as it has ramifications for the overall market. Now, the producer price index report clearly caused some selling pressure in the beginning of the overall markets, yet we ended up kind of pushing upwards and then consolidating for the entirety of the day. However, this doesn't change my overarching view on Tesla in the short term. See, for a while now, I've been saying that I'm pretty much bearish on Tesla only in the short term, and in fact, I've been dead accurate if we take a look at Tesla stock from a daily time frame. Now, in this video, I want to go ahead and talk about Tesla stock and cover it both from the perspective of the short-term view and also my long-term view. But before we do so, I also want to just talk about something else. See, one of the things I've been expressing with the Push and Profit private group is that I have some concerns for the overall economy. In fact, I want to share with you guys this snippet that I mentioned in this morning's private briefing. So this morning I said, many seem oblivious to this reality due to various biases, saying that, the economy is in some trouble. I said, political influences and rigid beliefs, right? And I also mentioned that some TV analysts appear more interested in promoting their funds rather than providing honest insights, acting more as salespeople than general experts. And, I've mentioned that I've never appreciated this aspect of media coverage. And then I said, at its core, the media often boils down to sales. Pundits feel pressured to make sensational statements to gain attention, overlooking the complex problems that the economy may face in the coming months. While I have previously praised the first half of this year as being bullish, right? I'm saying that I foresee that the later part will become way more turbulent and most likely spill into 2024. Now, if you guys want to be a part of the Push and Profit private group and have access to my daily briefings, it's going to be the first link in the description below. But of course, if you can't join the Push and Profit private group, there's also a free alternative where every single Sunday I send out a weekly newsletter, and there is a link to get access to that weekly newsletter in the link in the description for this video as well. But with that said, I want to go ahead and hop into my laptop and talk about a couple of topics when it comes to Tesla. Alrighty, so we are officially in my laptop taking a look at Tesla stock. Now, we saw that today, obviously, we had some selling after we had the producer price index, and we saw the markets kind of sell off a bit. But then I mentioned that we pushed upwards, and so we see Tesla stock pretty much pushing upwards for the remainder of the day. Of course, it ebbed and flowed, but it did push upwards. But I want us to remember that although it may seem like Tesla had a great day for today, it still was lower than the day before, and that's something we have to acknowledge, right? Yeah, it pushed up for the day, but we closed much lower than we did yesterday, right? And so that's something that we want to understand. Now, what's something else that we want to also take a look at when it comes to Tesla, right? Well, we want to pay attention to what happens next week. So what is happening next week? Well, there's a couple of things, right? Of course, we have US retail sales. So we're going to see how consumer spending is going in the retail sector, and that's definitely going to be important. And then, of course, we have a lot of earnings, with one of the notable ones being Walmart. Now, I know some individuals may watch this video and get up to this part of the video and complain, why is Justin talking about Walmart when we're trying to have a conversation about Tesla? And so, one of the things I say is that you can't have this, limited view on the market. You have to have a holistic approach, and looking at what these earnings are doing, provides us a better picture, right? I had this comment last week when I was talking about Apple. Someone was like, oh my God, this guy's talking about Apple and Amazon earnings. I just only care about Tesla, right? And one of the things that, just to recap what I said about Apple is that, when we look at Apple, a lot of individuals said, no, Apple is resilient, it's not going to do bad, it's going to lead the markets upward. And in fact, we've had the inverse, where after Apple's earnings, right, we saw Apple pretty much compress, right? And so why am I talking about Walmart now for Tesla? Well, one of the things we have to understand with Walmart, many of you guys may not know this, but Walmart is one of the largest employers in this country, right? So think about it like this. Mr. Walmart pays a lot of people. And so if Mr. Walmart is not doing well, what are some concerns that Mr. Walmart may do? Well, if Walmart earnings come in bad, Mr. Walmart may not like that. I know I'm talking very silly, right? But it is YouTube, right? Mr. Walmart may end up, cutting some labor, or he may cut some hours, right? And so that's why we want to pay attention to, what the earnings for Walmart is. I know we're talking about Tesla, but we want to pay attention to the overall macroeconomic climate, and we want to pay attention to these large companies such as Walmart and how they're doing for their earnings, right? Now, what else do we have next week? Well, we also have, right, the U.S. leading economic indicator, which pretty much has been trending downwards, kind of signaling a recession, right? But then on top of that, we also have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out on the 16th of August, right? So that's going to be interesting because we've heard Chairman Jerome Powell, I'm sorry, I say Jerome Powell like as if, I know him personally. At the end of the day, it's Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, right? And he kind of alluded that there has been some disagreements with the Fed. And so we want to see what the minute meetings look like, because we want to see which individuals in the Fed or the FOMC are kind of opposed to hiking or cutting rates sooner than later, right? We want to see where the Fed's mind is, right? And so that's what we have next week, right? So definitely always wanting to stay data dependent, paying attention to everything that takes place. But now looking at Tesla, right? One of the things I've told the Push and Profit private group is, yeah, I'm still bearish on Tesla, and it hasn't changed, right? And as I pointed out in the beginning of this video, it's been pretty dead accurate. Now, I remember after Tesla's earnings, individuals, especially on YouTube, a lot of individuals were very bullish on YouTube, right? And this is something that separates me from a lot of the individuals on YouTube, right? I'm not just, a Tesla zealot, right? I'm bullish on Tesla in the long term, but we have to be realistic. While a lot of other individuals, I'm not going to say names, because that would just be like a poor reflection of my character, they were saying, well, Tesla's going to go to the moon, right? Because they beat earnings. But there's a lot of nuance in these earnings, right? And so ever since then, we've seen Tesla come down. Now, here's the thing, right? We want to see how the consumer is going to be doing as we get closer towards the end of the year, right? Because we've seen Tesla pretty much use all the tricks that they've had, or pull all the tricks out of the hat, right? Or I'm trying to say pull all the rabbits out the hat. Some type of analogy I'm trying to allude to, but basically saying, well, we saw Tesla did price cuts, right? So that they could stir up demand. And I said, that's good. Tesla has the ability to do that, and that's good because it's going to stir up demand in a recession. But they already used that, right? What else do they have? EV tax credits, right? That has been advantageous for Tesla, but they've also alluded that going into 2024, they're not too sure if they're going to have the full, EV tax credit. It may get cut in half for many of their models, so that's another concern, right? But then we also saw that Tesla recently in the last few weeks also made an update for their financing where they're adding many more months to be able to finance their vehicles, right? I think it was 84 months for someone to be able to finance a Tesla. Now, I said this is good for Tesla, right? Because obviously another way for them to stir up demand. But what does that tell you about the overall economy, right? Well, one, we know that interest rates are very high. Everyone knows this. Everyone talks about, the housing market interest rates, but also auto loan interest rates are tremendously high. And this is bad, right? Not saying this is, going to kill Tesla off in the long term. No, of course. This is cyclical. This is just in the short term. But these auto rates are so high, right? And so that diminishes demand, or really demand, not really demand, but affordability for these Tesla vehicles, right? Because, if these rates are so high and you make so much or whatever you make from your career, your job, you may not be able to afford a Tesla vehicle. So what did Tesla do? Well, they extended the length of their loans, which is great, right? Good for Tesla, but obviously a bad sign of the economy because, you shouldn't have to finance a vehicle for 84 months. Look, I'm sorry, but that's just not a good sign for the overall economy. And so, I'm still bearish on Tesla in the short term. And one of the things I pointed out, and a few people, I want to give credit to where it's due, a few people who have commented on this channel saying, well, there's this gap over here with Tesla, and it's most likely going to fill this gap. Now, is it guaranteed it's going to fill that gap? No, it's not 100% guaranteed, but it's likely. If we're trending downwards and we have this gap over here, we may fill this gap over here. And so I've been saying, the low 200s is where I want to pay attention to, for Tesla. Now, the range that I've told the Push and Profit private group is around 215 to 230, right? So the low 200s. I remember when I first started saying that right after the earnings for Tesla, a lot of individuals said I was mad or I was crazy, right? But look where we're at. I mean, if we go from the peak somewhere over here all the way to where we're at, we've already fallen almost 19%. And so to go to the low 200 or, right around here, the low $200 levels, we're not too far. Actually, that's incorrect. Let's do it from where we're currently at. We're not too far, right? We're honestly just not too far. If we go somewhere around over here. So is it guaranteed that Tesla's going to fall down further? Absolutely not. But most likely, that's where I see Tesla heading. Right now, I could be wrong, and it's fine. I've been right for over a year now on what's going on with Tesla, but I could be wrong. And so one of the things I want to kind of provide is a disclosure that you should never just copy whatever I say, right? And you should only trade or invest in whatever you see value in, right? One of the things I don't like is when people do, or just their actions are just copying whatever I say. Now, yeah, it's fine. I could have a few good, hits, but I'm gonna have misses, right? And that's gonna be realistic. I don't have a crystal ball. All I try to do is look at multiple data points and try to form a hypothesis of what's most likely going to occur. So again, I just want you guys to remember that you still have to do your due diligence. Now, I still think Tesla is going to fall down more in the short term, and that's my overarching view. Again, you could disagree with that as well. You could also comment in the comment section below. I do want to ask if you guys could please, stay polite in the comment section below. Because I see that YouTube will send me a message or it'll kind of automatically ban comments if they use terrible language, right? It's not me deleting the comments. That's just it gets reviewed on YouTube. So please, refrain from using bad language and stay polite. But now let's talk about Tesla in the long term. As I always say, I am bullish on Tesla in the long term, right? And I always say that fundamentally I think Tesla's still ahead of the lead. We saw Lucid's earnings and they were garbage, right? I actually shouldn't say that, right? But they were really bad, right? We saw Rivian, and Rivian is, doing okay, right? But then we see these auto legacy companies that, they have the funds from their internal combustion engine vehicles that are selling for them to still compete in the EV space. But even with that, the money that they have, they're still unprofitable in the EV space, losing billions of dollars and projecting not to be profitable until 2025 or 2026. And then we saw, I honestly can't even remember between whether it was Ford or GM, but one of the two in their recent earnings had to actually push further their expectations for their vehicle productions. I think they were trying to do Actually, I'm not going to even say the number because I'm probably going to guess wrong or say it wrong. But they're trying to do a certain number of EV vehicles to produce, and they missed their goal for being able to do that this year and said, well, we're going to have to do that next year. Versus Tesla is already delivering a massive, not producing. I want to, state that, with an asterisk, they're delivering a huge amount of vehicles, right, as of now. And so I do expect that the EV trend is going to continue. I know some individuals absolutely hate EVs. I see it all over social media where individuals, you even have individuals that have conspiracy theories thinking that the government is promoting EVs because they want to control you. I try to stay away from the people with the tinfoil hats. But regardless, I still see that the EV trend is going to continue going up. That's what we're seeing in the data. And so that's why I'm very bullish on Tesla in the long term. It's just that right now, things are not looking good. But if we do see Tesla fall to these low levels, one of the things I want to absolutely do is monitor, well, are we going to continue falling below, which I don't think so, or fingers crossed we don't, but I want to see if we start bouncing up for me to go ahead and add more into my long-term portfolio. I've been telling individuals that this is a buying opportunity. Again, not telling you to buy Tesla, only if you see value in buying Tesla at low levels, right? That's just, I just want to warn you guys again, right? I'm not telling you that. I'm just saying me, personally, I think these low levels are providing great opportunities for Tesla for the long term, right? And so that's pretty much my view on Tesla, both in the short term and the long term. Some people may disagree with my short term view on Tesla. Some people may disagree with my long term. Some people, sometimes people, the comments, they get flagged or reviewed for them just cursing me out, saying Tesla is a piece of garbage. It's never going to happen. At the end of the day, you guys are entitled to your own opinions, and that's fine. Just remain, positive and obviously, I can't think of the word, but respectful in the comment section. And with that said, guys, I hope you guys found some utility in this video. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below, and also check out this next video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video. Take care, guys.